Also allows us to monitor diversity. If there's a specific complaint that's coming up again and again about a line manager not supporting their employee, and different employees across the service that may be black, white, something like that, then we can change tact and then do something proactive to change it. Disciplinary procedures is basically what's done, so what we then put in place to ensure it doesn't happen again and holding that person responsible. So the second point was valuing each other of our policy. So policies have inclusive working as a main theme throughout. That's something that we want to achieve throughout the next 3 years. So central to every policy is everyone being included. It's about identifying and removing barriers that prevent achievement and to encourage more flexible working. So how do we do this? Policies. We've got a bullying and harassment policy. So just like kind of in schools or colleges, there's a bullying policy. Hampshire Primary School aren't excluded just because they're not a school or they're not a college. Bullying can happen anywhere. So it's anything from displaying inappropriate material in the workplace, making lewd comments, undermining, intimidating, or just unnecessary, unjustified criticism. Delegation of workloads, withholding information from someone, or directly excluding them from meetings, as I said before. Undermining their status, position, or worth within the service. I should say showing disrespect for a person's needs, feelings, or well-being. So behaviours that are directed to individuals because of these 7 characteristics is basically what bullying and harassment tries to avoid. So we've got that one. Can also include, as far as the LGBT side and the gender side and the sexual orientations, can also include making homophobic insults or threats, making unnecessary degrading references to an individual's sexual orientation, engaging in banter or making jokes which are degrading to a person's sexual orientation, even if perceived, outing an employee without their permission, ignoring or excluding an LGBT employee because they're LGBT, spreading rumours, spreading gossip about an individual's sexual orientation, asking an LGBT colleague intrusive questions about their private life. So everyone knows that kind of these are unacceptable, and it's about challenging them and ensuring they don't happen in our service to ensure that everyone feels safe and everyone is enabled to be themselves. Using religious beliefs to justify anti-gay bullying. So how do we kind of break down barriers again? We had an anti-bullying week. Promote that employees have the right to raise the issue, be assured that the matter will be dealt with effectively and speedily. We won't just brush it under the carpet. That kind of instills confidence in our employees that we will actually get something done, and again it makes the workplace a safer environment. It's confidential, it's treated seriously, have access to the appropriate support, so people can have counselling or other things like that. They can make a complaint. So what we did is we wanted to make it quite visual. So we had posters and emails that came round that went along the lines of this. So one is, check your own behaviour. Is my verbal language insensitive? Do my prejudices show through? Do my personal views hurt others? Do I get angry in ways that might offend or frighten someone? It's about getting people to think about how they do things on a daily basis and think about how they can improve. So again, taking personal responsibility. Bullying is not it's not assertiveness, and it is not a management style. So someone bullying you on a day-to-day basis and saying that's how they run their kind of team, that's not effective team leadership, and I'm sure you'll know yourself by kind of being shouted at or being kind of victimised really doesn't get the best results out of people. So we're trying to get people to speak up if they're unhappy with the way you're being treated or spoken to. Bullying is not defined by what has been done, rather the effect it has on the individual. So again, it's going back to the stream that there could be many things that someone does that undermines someone. Managers seem to avoid, cover up or excuse unwanted behaviours will be viewed by others as condoning this behaviour. So again, it goes back to personal responsibility. So you may not be aware of the sexuality of all your colleagues or members of their families think. Banter and jokes regarding sexual orientation will not allow a safe environment for someone to be their true self. So that's something that's And the other thing is we cannot judge from a personal viewpoint whether someone else's experiences are valid. All concerns will be dealt with seriously, confidentially and sensitively. So again, go back to the policy. So we've got our bullying and harassment policy that we've just spoken about. We've also got our dyslexia policy. In a nutshell, it sends people for their assessment, it gives them recommendations of what they need, and it allows us to put in extra equipment or support in the workplace to allow them to do their jobs more effectively. Flexible working. What's flexible working? So, is it about saying everyone in the service needs to work between 8 and 6 every day? No. It's about realising that everyone has different responsibilities in their home life, getting a work-life balance and seeing what we can do to ensure a diverse workforce, ensure that those people come forward, so we're not just a stereotypical workforce. So, we've got bullying, harassment, dyslexia, flexible working, we can achieve better work-life balance, increase diversity. We've also got maternity, paternity, adoption leave, parental leave. So when someone goes off to have a baby, everyone kind of automatically thinks, oh, maternity, the mother of that child must need time off work, which they obviously get, that's a legal obligation by the government. It's also about paternity leave. What happens if you adopt a child? What would happen then? Because you haven't given birth to that child, do you still need 9 months off? We've put policies in place to ensure that if people want to adopt, there are sufficient support services that we can offer them. Parental leave as well, so if they have other responsibilities. So the third one, involving each other. Actively involve employees through consulting and involving them in plans. I'm sure you probably think that if someone tells you to do something, or we're going to do this now, would it be better to, on some things, consult them? Sometimes you know better what goes on a daily basis than other people do. So it's about us speaking to our workforce to see what we can do better and involving them in plans. Therefore we can bring change. It's also about holding events to understand inclusivity in the workplace, so educating people. Not everyone knows everything, and kind of no one pretends to be honest. It's also about celebrating our achievements within and outside the service. So again, how do we facilitate this? Dyslexia steering group. So I don't know whether you have like student councils or some union or something like that. It's kind of the same idea. It's about networking opportunities. It's about encouraging staff with dyslexia to come forward, talk about what they find difficult, and us put in place what we can do better. Employees will feel valued, and they'll contribute to raising awareness and commitment for change. Diversity liaison officers. What do those words mean? They're basically people in our communities that go out and speak to minority groups, such as these 7 characteristics, but also a lot more. Make those individuals feel the service represents them, and we do inclusive events to make people within the community feel more involved. LGBT working group. So, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender working group. It allows us to value employees, promote action around sexual orientation, promote the service as empathetic and supportive, again allowing people to be themselves, and again address any action that needs to be taken. Encourage and inspire others. It's about being good role models. So, how do we do that? Event in our community, Brighton Pride. So it's about us actively showing that we're LGBT friendly. It's about attracting a diverse workforce that can engage in our diverse communities. So that's what that's about. It's about our Chief Officer, John Bonney again, coming along to those events and showing right from the top that that's what our organisation believes in and that's what our organisation feels is important. We also are involved with other cultural events such as Southampton Mela Festival, which is a kind of a multicultural festival of music and kind of food and different things like that. So finally, improving the way we provide services. We need to measure our understanding of people's differences, ensure our communication strategy refers to the principles, and ensure we're being efficient with our resources and the money we get paid to do our job. It's about consulting other organisations and learning from them. So how do we do it? We do surveys. You probably do that here too, about what you want to happen, or feedback. We ensure communication is relevant and appropriate to the audience. So to a dyslexic person, is it worthwhile putting an 8-page document of purely text? Is that going to help them? no, is kind of the simple answer. So what other ways can we reach those employees? Is it about making things more visual? Is it about doing videos? Things like that. We're also Stonewall. I don't know how much you know about Stonewall. Stonewall are an organisation that make LGBT inclusive within the work, LGB inclusive in the workplace. Sorry. We also are involved with Disability Forum. They help us understand disabilities and what we can do to help that person with disability. We're a mindful employer. There's a lot of things about mental health at the moment in the media. It's time to talk. It's time to change. It's about, again, talking about it, being open and being honest, and it not being a taboo subject. How do we communicate? So, you know a lot about this, I'm sure. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr. It's about engaging different people. Not everyone is going to be on one of those memes. It's about doing them all. What are Stonewall? They advise us on best practice. They work with us to ensure policies and procedures are inclusive, and they educate employees and the wider community. So part of their work, they do a workplace equality index, which basically measures an employee's efforts to tackle discrimination. More than 750 employees have taken part, and it's a model for good practice. So last week we got ranked 130 on this workplace equality index, which is 5 positions up from last year, so it shows we're making progress. It's a benchmarking exercise really, and it shows our commitment. Again, it goes back to, we know that employees who are able to be open about their sexual orientation are significantly happier with their employer than those who choose not to be out. They feel more supported by their managers, again what we're talking about, by respect and role models, build better relationships with colleagues, and are more loyal to their employer. So that's what we want. So, quickly, who do we work with? We don't just operate by ourselves, we communicate with a lot of different people to get their views. Fire Brigade Union, the retained Fire Brigade Union as well, so RFU. Networking women in the fire service. How many women firefighters do you see? What can we do to get more women out on our service? But being positive about disabled people, so people who are disabled applying for jobs and us supporting them. And again, mindful employer about mental health. So, just to sum up, what does it mean to us? Treating everyone fairly with respect, providing varying solutions for different needs and expectations, and promoting equal opportunities. An inclusive workplace is essential to the way we do business, challenging prejudice and discrimination. So this is kind of just the last word really. Be the change that you want to see in the world. It's again about taking responsibility for your views and challenging other people on theirs in kind of a respectful way. So, any questions? I'm not quite sure if we've got time, whether you've got any. But feel free to ask any. I'll try and answer them if I can. Everyone okay?
Which one mainly affects the Hampshire Fire Service?
Oh yeah.
Which one of them?
Which protected characteristics?
Yeah.
I think they all do it in their own way really. There's not one central one that does. I think historically, I think you could say that kind of it's all male kind of firefighters. That's what you think of. So I think a lot kind of historically it's about women, integrating women and the kind of the gender argument. But I mean all of them are relevant to what we do. Yeah.
Are girls allowed to be firefighters?
Yep. Yep. Everyone. Anyone from these 7 characteristics. Everyone. So yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
What if someone's like missing an arm? Does he have to be a firefighter?
No, it's a good question. It's about reasonable adjustments. So, if someone is disabled, it's about us saying, okay, they want to do that. How can we support them? Is it about us putting other things in place to help them, or is it about saying, okay, probably not suited to this role, but this role might be equally suitable? It's about working with other organisations to see how we can help that person. But yeah, admittedly there will be times when we can't always be inclusive as humans. Any other questions?
Yeah, was that Bright and Pride thing targeted just for like gay people?
It was targeted at everyone. So in Brighton, that's like a major community event. So it's about kind of challenging stereotypes. So would you expect to see the fire service there? probably not, which is why it kind of widens kind of accessibility, and those people that are there would hopefully feel that they could come to the fire service if they ever had an issue or wanted advice and stuff.
You know, like the accessibility thing.
Yeah.
If you're a dwarf, surely you can't make fire service.
It's all about different stuff. There are kind of standard fitness things that you have to adhere to, so yeah, it's about that.
Any more questions, guys?
What I would say is if you want any further reading, I don't know whether you do, probably one thing that kind of we've taken that from is the diversity and inclusion strategy for the London Olympics. Everyone knows how great the Olympics were and how much they involve people, especially kind of with regards to the Paralympic Games. They kind of say it's probably been the most viewed games ever, and that's one plan that we use with ours to see how we can be more diverse and more inclusive. So those are my contact details as far as fire service, if you want to know anything more. What I would say is there's always opportunities to get involved with the fire service. So from a public service kind of point of view, work experience, we do that. People want to come and see what we do and how we do things. Those are the contacts, and then we also do volunteering, and we do a lot of things with Prince's Trust as well. So log on to our website and have a look if you're interested.
Lovely. Thank you, Joe.
Right guys, listen up please quickly. For the following people, stay here and wait behind. Ben Giles, Joel Petty, Callum Trill, George Wolford, Linda, Ed, Jess, Melody, Matt, Lemma, Sarah Trevor, Christian, Sean Perman, Steve, Emma, Nicole, Elliot, Harry, Paris, Nicole Wheatley, Richard, Jamie, Chloe, Becky, Craig, Longyear, Connor, Lauren, Dean, Alex, Liam and Amy, please.
Hey George. Great tripod for the camera.
I stayed too late, didn't I, Gareth?